Well, hello there, everyone. It's Nina Marie Trapani here for Simon Says Stamp, and happy Newton's Nook STAMPtember Reveal Day. Today is the day that we're revealing our Simon Says Stamp exclusive collaboration set, and this one is with Newton's Nook. I absolutely love this skate potty stamps and coordinating dies that are available to you exclusively for a limited time only. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I made a series of snow globes that my characters are sitting in. Let's take a closer look at the Skate Potty stamp set. If you love winter sports or winter theme in general, this darling set of imagery is just so sweet. The classic Newton's Nook characters, including Newton himself and a couple of his pup friends. There are some great greetings in here and also some snowflakes that you can use to embellish your projects. And to go with your stamps, you do have the coordinating dies available as well. These are detabbed, so they are great to just use right out of the packaging. I'm going to stamp my characters onto some watercolor paper. I've picked out distressed watercolor paper today. I'm using the textured side. And I'll stamp my 3 character images onto this paper using VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink from Simon Says Stamp. I picked out this ink because I'm going to be doing some watercoloring. I love using the Distress watercolor pencils to color my stamped images, so that's what I'm going to use today. My favorite way to use them is to get the tip of the pencil wet with a brush and some water, and then work off of that wet tip directly onto my paper. So I actually don't color with the pencil onto my paper. That's just my personal preference. You could do that. I like the smooth look that the pencil provides if I pick it up off of the pencil rather than coloring with the pencil onto the project. But you do you, you can do it however you want. I'm going to keep the coloring pretty simple, but I do want to show you how I add some shading to my images. So I like to put a base coat of color down onto my image, then let it dry. Then I come back in with that same color and just go back over it with a little bit more intense color, a little less watered down. And that's going to allow me to layer another application of that pencil on top of the coloring I had already done, allowing me to get that shading. Because the paper underneath had dried, it's not going to allow that watercolor to move as freely as if the paper was still wet. So you've got time to be able to layer that color on there and work with it in its more intense form when you wait for the base layer to dry. So I like doing that to allow me to get that shading effect when I really want to maintain the detail of the shading. I colored my characters with very neutral colors. So I picked a pumice stone brown for the dogs, and then I used black soot for the cat. I wanted to color the cat like a tuxedo. It reminds me of my cat Maddie. She's a tuxedo cat. So when I colored the cat, I made sure to try to mimic the look that Maddie has. After I colored everything with my pencils, then I went back in and picked up a little color, splattered it onto my project. I love the look of colored splatter on watercoloring. And then I also brought in some Simon Says Stamp Pawsitively Perfect white splatter and splattered that over top of everything as well. All right, I'm breaking into the coordinating dies now. I love the fact that these are detabbed, so you can just work right off of the packaging with the dies and you don't have to snip anything apart. That is one of the awesome things about Simon Says Stamp dies. So I'm laying my coordinating dies onto the project, and I'm making sure to tape these down with some tape so that way they don't shift when I run these through my die cut machine. I've spent all this time coloring. I don't want to have an accident as I die cut. So make sure you tape your dies down, or if you're using a magnetic surface, that will help hold your dies in place. So we have these cute characters, and they are going to look so cute in a snow globe, but I thought they would be fun to have a little bit of sparkle added to them as well. So I'm bringing in the new Distress Rock Candy Chunky Glitter, as well as the original classic Distress Rock Candy Glitter. I'm putting these into some cups so I can start mixing some alcohol inks into them to tint the glitter. I've picked out this really pretty pool teal color, and I'm putting a few drops of it into the glitter inside of this little Dixie cup. And then I'm going to take a stir and just run that through the glitter, getting those clumps of that alcohol ink distributed evenly across the glitter. You just want to stir this really, really well to get that color mixed across the entire pile of glitter. And then I'll do the same thing for the classic rock candy, add a few drops, go back in and stir it up. You'll see that this clumps up, but if you keep stirring, it will distribute very evenly and you'll have a perfect glitter that is tinted to a color that you feel matches well with your project. So I picked out Pool for this one. I thought this would be pretty to go with the teal colors that I've used for the watercoloring. I'll spread this out so you can see how this looks, plus this will help it dry. Because we're using alcohol inks to tint our glitter, this is going to dry very quickly. Dry time will vary depending upon your location. If you have a little bit more of a humid atmosphere, you may find that the glitter takes a tad longer to dry than if your environment is a bit drier. But this will dry in a very short amount of time. But it'll leave you with this great glitter that's going to match perfectly with your project. Now this one, you notice I had colored with a light purple. It was actually left over from another project. And because it was light purple and I had this leftovers, I thought, well, I can add darker purple to that and use up what I had from the previous project that I was working on. That's a great way to be able to maximize the use of your glitter. I was saving that glitter no matter what, but I was able to tint it with a slightly different color to give a darker finish to the glitter and get it used up. So for each color that I'm tinting, I've got a purple, a pink, and a teal. I'm tinting the Rock Candy Chunky and also a version in the Distress Rock Candy Classic because I want to mix these two glitters on my stamped images. I want to have a combination of the two on my project, so I have a little of the chunky and also a little bit of that fine glitter too. That way it adds some variety to the stamped images. And it's just the effect that I was going for. You don't have to have two different types of glitters on your project. You could just go with the chunky or the standard rock candy glitter. But I always find it fun to mix them. Now for glue, I'm using Glossy Accents today. It's a clear adhesive, and that's basically what you want. No matter what adhesive you reach for, make sure it dries with a clear finish because then you'll still be able to see through and the color underneath. So I'm sprinkling on a little of the original rock candy glitter. Then I will bring in the chunky rock candy and sprinkle that over top. You don't need a lot because these are small images, so there's not a lot that's going to get used to cover them. But when I tap off the excess, you can see how magical and frosty these images look. I just love how beautiful this combination of the rock candy chunky and the rock candy original look together. I not only covered their hats and scarves with some of the glitter, but then I also went back for the cat. I actually added a little bit of glitter to her mittens. You can use multiple colors of the glitter on your project. It doesn't matter, but it's a fun way to be able to add a little bit of pizzazz to your coloring. And because they're tinted, it really looks beautiful on top of the coloring. So while those are drying, I'm going to work on creating the snow globes for our characters. I have our Simon Says Stamp exclusive Reliquary snow globe dies. These allow you to build cute little snow globes, and you can actually turn them into shakers too, which is what I'm going to show you today. So we're going to do a bunch of die cutting to get started. I'm going to start first with the base dome of the snow globe. So I'm going to cut this from some sea glass cardstock, and I'm going to cut this 3 times. And everything I'm die cutting today, it's all going to be done in sets of 3 because I have 3 characters. They're each going to have their own snow globe. Next, I need to work on die cutting the base of the snow globe as well as the frame because we're going to turn this into a shaker. So we do need the frame today. For the frame, I've picked out some Simon Says Stamp matte silver cardstock. This is going to look really pretty. I'm going to cut 3 of these as well. If you weren't making a shaker, you could skip using the frame. You don't have to use that to build the snow globe. So I have my 3 frames. Now let's work on die cutting the base. For the base, I've picked out some Nina Desert Storm cardstock. I love craft cardstock for the winter time and especially the Desert Storm. It's a really nice, beautiful, soft craft. Works perfect for the base of the snow globe. Now I need to die cut this cute little accessory piece. You don't have to add this, it's a decorative element, but it is darling. And so I'm going to cut this from some white cardstocks, and that's going to look really good sitting on top of the base of our snow globe. All right, because we're building a shaker, we do need some acetate to create the window. So I'm using our lightweight acetate from Simon Says Stamp. This acetate is die cuttable and it is perfect for making shaker windows. So I'm going to cut this 3 times so I have a window for each of my snow globes. So now that we have all of our pieces die cut, you should have 3 of everything. We're going to emboss onto the dome of our snow globe. You can use a embossing folder. Any snowflake design will look cute. I happen to be using this soft Snowfall one, but if you didn't want to emboss, you could use our Simon Says Stamp Falling Snow Stencil, which I'll link to as well, along with all the other products that I'm using today. But these little snow globe domes do all fit inside of one embossing folder at one time, so that's really nice. You can emboss your snow globes all at the same time. After embossing, I did come through with a little bit of ink and just added some surf ink around the edges of my dome. That's just going to give a little bit of dimension to it. To assemble the frame for our snow globe, I need to take the metallic piece that we cut from the silver. I'm going to glue that directly to the acetate piece. This is going to form the frame of our shaker window. It's going to hide the adhesive that we'll use to assemble all of this into a shaker well. But because I need to build a shaker well, I also need to add some layers of that frame behind my acetate. I'm just going to be filling this shaker with glitter, so I don't need the well to be very deep. So to save on some bulk, I'm going to just stack some paper frames behind my acetate, so that way that will form the well instead of foam tape. So I decided that 3 layers of my frames was going to be the perfect height for the shaker well. I'm using Simon Says Stamp Pawsitively Perfect Craft Glue to adhere these together. So I have a stack of 3 frames, which is going to get adhered to the back side of our shaker window. So that shaker window, of course, is the acetate with the metallic frame. This is going to get sat right on top of that stack of little frames. So now we end up with this little well. It's not very deep, but it's just enough that the glitter is going to be able to easily move inside of it. So I need to put my characters within the base dome of our shaker. But to make sure everything adheres properly, I do want to make sure that I cut off any extra parts of the stamped image that's going to hang outside of the dome. I don't want to see any of that, and plus, if I have a little space around the image, that's going to help the frame actually adhere better to our dome. I'm adhering my characters with a strip of Terrific tape just because I didn't want to wait for liquid glue to dry. Then I'm going to take a small amount of that Distress Rock Candy Chunky Glitter. These are 2 very small little scoops of glitter. As you can see, it's barely covering the stamped image, but trust me, this is going to be just enough to fill a shaker. Then I'm going to take my shaker well that we've created with all of those frames stacked up behind the main frame. I'm going to put Craft Tacky Glue all the way around the edges. I picked Craft Tacky Glue because it is a thicker adhesive, and so I was hoping that was going to allow me to make sure I get every inch of this frame fully adhered because I don't want any of the glitter falling out. But then I just laid that shaker well over top of the glitter, and then I placed a clear block on top to help give that a chance to bond. Once that's dry, you're going to end up with a cute little shaker just like this. How darling is this little pup sitting inside of this frosty little shaker? The Distressed Rock Candy Chunky Glitter was the perfect glitter to use for this type of project. And now I'm going to work on assembling the rest of my snow globe. So I need to add the base. I glued that along the bottom of our frame. And then I also took that cute little decorative element and I adhered that directly on top of our base piece. This is going to add just a fun little detail to the snow globe and make it feel extra fun. I have now all 3 of my little shakers ready to go. These would be cute as ornaments or little tags, but I'm going to put them onto a card. And so now I'm going to bring in the stamp set and stamp a few of the snowflakes. There are a total of 3 different snowflake images, and I'm using the 2 larger ones. I'm going to stamp them onto some white cardstock using that same surf ink that I used to ink blend around my dome. Then I'm going to take the coordinating dies and tape those in place so I can run all of these snowflakes through my die cut machine and cut them out. That'll leave me with a nice little assortment here that I can use to embellish my snow globes. I'm going to put these on the outside of the snow globe, kind of around everything, but I need to build the card first before I do that. So I pulled out the A2 Scalloped Rectangles die set, new from our Simon Says STAMPtember release, and I'm going to pick out one of these as a panel that my snow globes are going to sit on. I ended up choosing a size down from the first one that I picked out, and that's going to frame up the image really nicely, I think. I'm going to cut this scallop rectangle from cardstock colors that I felt matched well with the colors that I used for my watercoloring. So here I have a lavender colored cardstock from Simon Says Stamp that I cut the scallop rectangle with. And then I'm going to bring in that same snowflake embossing folder that I used earlier and just run this through my machine to emboss the snow detail onto the cardstock. Again, you can use any type of snowflake embossing folder. I just happened to pull out this one. Then I'm going to add a little bit of splatter to my backgrounds. I love splatter for the winter time. It just looks like falling snow, and that was the look I was going for. So I made sure to splatter each of my panels with a bit of our Simon Says Stamp Pawsitively Perfect white splatter. Once those dried, on the back side of my panels, I'm adhering some foam tape so that I can attach each one of these to my card base, which is an A2 top folding card. These cards are not overly bulky because remember, we did not use any foam tape to adhere our snow globes together. So the amount of dimension on these snow globes is really minimal, and you could skip adding foam tape to the backside of that panel if you really want to cut down on the bulk. I'm adhering my snow globes directly to those panels using some Terrific tape, again, just because I don't want to wait for things to dry, and it's a nice strong adhesive. Pulling out all three of the sentiments from the stamp set, I'm going to stamp those onto black cardstock. I love a good black cardstock greeting. It stands out really nicely, especially when you've got a lot going on. It helps the sentiment not get lost. So I embossed these greetings with white embossing powder, which is going to stand out really nicely. And I heat set those, then brought in the coordinating dies and cut each one of these greetings out. I love that the dies include the greetings. The greetings are going to get popped up onto my card. Again, you could skip the foam tape here, but I'm going to use a foam square to attach each one of these sentiments along the side of my snow globe. I did put them at a slight angle just for some fun. And then this is where I'm going to bring in those sweet little snowflakes that we stamped. I put 3 on each of my cards, which is creating a nice visual balance. I did find that these snowflakes were the perfect size to fit small foam squares behind, so even the smallest snowflake has a foam square behind it, which I thought was cool. The last finishing touch for my cards was a tiny bit of bling with our Simon Says Stamp Pawsitively Perfect Dazzling Gems. I'm going to use the Clair ones today to put just a few of these around my snowflakes, which help form a little trail, and it really draws your eye around the card. But the best part about these cards is the fact that these have glitter inside of a snow globe. So these cute characters are ice skating in a snow globe, which I think is just so sweet. Check out how that glitter captures the light so beautifully. Not only do we have the glitter in the snow globe, but then I also used the glitter to embellish their hats and scarves, which is fun because even when the snow falls all the way to the bottom of the snow globe, their accessories still sparkle, which I think is beautiful. Well, friends, I hope you enjoyed seeing our Simon Says Stamp and Newton's Nook Designs STAMPtember 2025 stamps and coordinating dies in action. This is the Darling Skate Potty stamp set, and of course we have the coordinating dies available as a bundle as well. There were so many things that I shared in this video, and as you can see, it turned into a beautiful set of seasonal cards. But you could also turn these cute little snow globes into ornaments or tags, so don't be stopped by the fact that these are cards. If you are a maker that wants to create more of a non-card project, I hope you will take these ideas and use them for maybe something fun for your friends and family this holiday season. Thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget to stay tuned for the whole month of STAMPtember because we have lots of great things coming up in the coming weeks. So stay tuned and we'll see you again in the next video.
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at simonsaysstamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.